You don't belong in a hotel like this." Jeff continued with that attitude, looking down on me. Then, Sarah approached him and pulled something out of her purse. "So you are Jeff," she stated. She handed him the item she had taken out. He was so taken aback that he was speechless. "My name is Michael. I work as an office worker. Sarah and I have been married for a year, and although we get along well, there's been one concern. It's about how busy my job is. Being naturally diligent and dedicated to my work, I've gained considerable trust from the company, albeit self-proclaimed. However, this meant I was constantly busy from morning till night, unable to spend time with her. Staying at the office past midnight wasn't unusual, which worried her a lot. When I called to say I'd be late that day, her voice was filled with anxiety. "Are you okay?" "I'm totally fine, don't worry. But you must be getting very little sleep lately." "Well, I'm managing somehow. The thought of you collapsing worries me so much. I think things will settle down a bit once I get through the current project." "Are you sure you're okay?" "I'm fine. Let's save up and go on that overseas trip soon." I put on a brave face, pushing myself a bit. The overseas trip was a promise I made to her when we got married. I promised to take her abroad since she had never been. We were close to our savings goal for the trip. But given how busy work has been, it might still be a while before we can go. Then one day, I caught a cold from being too engrossed in work. I knew exactly who I got it from. My boss, Jeff, was to blame. With his snarky attitude, he would grumble about even the smallest dissatisfaction. He approached me, coughing, to strike up a conversation. While I was busy with my own tasks, Jeff seemed to be making snide remarks as if trying to pass his cold on to me. "Jeff, you're clearly coughing a lot. At least wear a mask." "Shut up. I can't stand wearing something so suffocating." He continued to yell at me, spraying droplets as he spoke. Amidst such behavior, I ended up catching a cold. It's a wonder I didn't get sick sooner with that kind of exposure. I was feverish and in no shape to work. Feeling guilty but overwhelmed, I decided to take some time off. Seeing me like that, President Thompson suggested that I take a long vacation, considering the circumstances. He appreciated my hard work and wanted me to have some time off. I was surprised to receive such kind words. When I told Sarah about the long vacation, she was overjoyed. "Now you can finally take it easy. That's wonderful. It's unfortunate that I got sick, but the long vacation is a blessing. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise," Sarah said, all smiles. She was just happy that I finally had some time to rest. I felt grateful but also a bit guilty. It was clear evidence of her concern. Seeing my gloomy expression, she leaned in and spoke. "Hey, since we have the chance, why don't we go on a trip using this time off? The overseas trip we promised. That might be too much to prepare for on short notice. Let's go somewhere within the country." I thought it was a great idea. If we missed this chance, who knows when we'd be able to travel again. I nodded eagerly to her suggestion. "We may not get another chance like this, so let's do it." "Yay, it's decided. Let's start looking up right away. Just so you know, we'll go after I've recovered from this cold." "I know, I'm not that heartless," she replied. The promised overseas trip would have to wait, but finally, we could spend some quality time together. I rested fully, and the cold was gone in no time. Few days after my recovery, we splurged on a stay at a luxury hotel. It was a place we decided on after much research and discussion, looking through the internet and magazines. After checking our luggage at the hotel, we went sightseeing. We enjoyed local delicacies, visited museums, and savored each experience thoroughly. Everything was enjoyable and fulfilling. I was glad we came. It felt like I had not laughed this much in a long time. A different sense of fulfillment filled me, unlike when I was working. Seeing her having fun just like me made me feel happy, but also a bit guilty. "I'm sorry, Sarah. What's wrong all of a sudden?" "I've been so caught up with work, I haven't been able to make time for us." I opened up about my true feelings to Sarah as we walked side by side. But Sarah didn't seem to mind at all. She looked at me with a serious face and laughed. "I love you for your hard work. That's why we're together," she said. "Thank you. Besides, we're having a good time together now, so no problem," she said, giving me a hearty pat on the back. Her positivity had saved me so many times before. With those thoughts, we enjoyed our day out and returned to the hotel. That's when an unexpected person appeared. Well, if it isn't Michael," he said. "Jeff. I never imagined I'd run into someone from work, especially Jeff, on vacation." Our good mood was instantly ruined. He approached us with a smirk on his face. Sensing the tense atmosphere, Sarah's expression darkened. "You surely don't plan to stay in this hotel, do you?" "That was the plan. A person like you doesn't belong in a luxury hotel like this. You should leave," he said. He began to say things that were nonsensical to anyone listening. It was none of his business. "I've already made reservations, so that's not possible." "Ah, I see. You're getting ahead of yourself, aren't you?" I'll be excusing myself to head back to my room. I quickly tried to leave, walking past Jeff. I don't want to tarnish even a moment of this enjoyable time. However, Jeff grabs my arm to stop me. He seems annoyed by my attitude, clearly not pleased. "Wait a minute. What is it? What kind of room are you staying in?" "Just a regular room, but..." I knew it. Hearing my response, he claps his hands joyfully. This happy expression is a sign that the sarcasm is about to start. I've seen it numerous times at work. "I'm staying in a suite. You can just see that I am staying there." It made no sense to me why he would go out of his way to say something like that. There's probably no valid reason for him. Mocking me is his sole purpose. You're really reaching, aren't you? This hotel is not suitable for someone like you. With the same tone he uses to throw shade at work, he continues to belittle me. I was filled with the desire to retort, but I found I couldn't speak. Wondering what was wrong, I reached for my throat with my right hand. Sarah was beside me, looking at me with concern. It seems that the stress had finally caught up with me, rendering me voiceless. I was surprised by the timing of this, shocked at myself. Can't you say anything back? Don't you find that pathetic? His mocking face filled me with frustration and anger. Memories of being ridiculed at work flooded back all at once. Then, Sarah, who had been watching from the side, approached him. "So you're Jeff. I have something for you." "Ha, something for me." She took a piece of paper out of her bag and handed it to Jeff. What's this?" Seeing his surprise, I peeked at the paper and was equally astonished. It was a termination notice for Jeff. Why does she have something like this? Jeff and I both looked at her. You must be wondering how I know him and why I have this, right? Since I still couldn't speak, I nodded vigorously. Jeff, furious, confronted Sarah. "That's right. What's the meaning of this? What authority do you have?" While slapping the termination notice in right hand with his left hand, he shouted. She took a deep breath and began to explain. "The president of your company, Mr. Thompson, often dines at the restaurant where I work. Mr. Thompson from our company." Sarah had been working at a traditional restaurant in a shopping district before we got married. I knew that, but I had no idea that Mr. Thompson was a regular customer. As we were chatting about various things, we coincidentally discovered that he is the president of your company. And why do you have my termination notice? Even if they got along well, that seemed like a separate issue. As if she had been waiting for this moment, she continued. I was discussing with Mr. Thompson how worried I was about my husband's demanding job. So that's how it was. I was finally able to let out a bit of my voice. I never imagined that for my sake, she would consult Mr. Thompson. He was concerned about you too and knew about the unfair treatment you were getting from Jeff. You hear that from Mr. Thompson. Jeff, feeling cornered, couldn't say anything in return. She pointed at the termination notice in his hand and spoke. He arranged for some time off for us, wanting us to have some undisturbed couples time. Furthermore, he said to use this if any harm came our way, and gave me the termination notice. I couldn't believe that he went to such lengths for us. It just goes to show that there are indeed people who notice and care. Jeff went silent, his face turning pale. But I never thought we'd have to use it so soon. No, I can't believe it. I refuse to. He said this and began making a call on his mobile phone. It seemed he was calling Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, Michael's wife handed me a termination notice, but this must be some kind of mistake, right? But she hadn't lied about a thing. From his phone, I could hear Mr. Thompson's reprimand. Realizing that the termination was indeed factual, his face went ashen. How could this? Murmuring so, Jeff collapsed to his knees. Well then, we'll be excusing ourselves. We headed to our room. Jeff remained in a daze until a hotel staff approached him. Once in our room, I apologized to her. I had no idea you went to such lengths for me. I'm sorry. Stop it. You didn't know because I didn't tell you, so it's only natural. That was true, but that wasn't why I was apologizing. I'm sorry for causing you so much worry to the extent of taking such action. I see. That's what you mean. Understanding my point, she smiled. Let's save up and go on a trip abroad together. You promised me that when we got married. She mused nostalgically. To fulfill that promise, you've been working so hard, haven't you? Well, it's a promise after all. Being reminded made me feel somewhat shy. Though I was focused on my work, my biggest motivation was undoubtedly Sarah's presence. On my own, for my own sake, I couldn't have worked this hard. So I'll forgive you for not noticing my worries. Saying so, she flashed a brilliant smile and made a thumbs up. I truly felt fortunate to have married her. We enjoyed our meal provided by the hotel, savoring our private time as a couple. When we returned to work after the holiday, Jeff was nowhere to be seen. Just as the termination notice stated, he had indeed been fired. Given his nature of always making snide remarks to others besides me, everyone was thrilled at his departure. With someone who hardly worked and only made others uncomfortable gone, the workplace environment improved significantly. Overall motivation increased, leading to a significant boost in performance. I later heard that Jeff, who had stayed at the same hotel as us, was actually there with a woman he met at a club. Being married, the truth eventually reached his wife, leading to divorce proceedings. Combined with the shock of losing his job, Jeff seemingly lost the will to look for work. Now, it seems he's living a frugal life, scraping by on his savings, but who knows how long that will last. It goes without saying that a grim future awaits him. But enough about Jeff, let's get back to my story. Later on, I visited the restaurant where Sarah works. The truth is, this restaurant is where I first met her. I fell for her at first sight when she was working as a waitress, and exchanging contact information with her was the beginning. I remember being the most nervous I've ever been in my life when I asked her out on a date and confessed my feelings. And I clearly remember feeling the happiest I've ever been when she said yes. Since we started dating, I felt too shy to visit her restaurant often. But suddenly, I felt the urge to visit after a long time, and so I did. Back when I used to frequent the place, looking forward to the recommended dishes here was the highlight of my day. Sarah was surprised to see me after such a long time. Oh, what a rare sight. I missed the taste here. Could I get one of the recommended dishes, please? Sure thing. The place was bustling, especially since it was lunchtime. Then, unexpectedly, someone called out to me. A familiar voice came from behind. Hey, isn't that Michael? Har, Mr. Thompson. I knew he was a regular, but I never expected to bump into him here. Meeting him outside of work felt strangely surreal. Mr. Thompson, thank you so much. For what? I'm grateful for all your concern and support. As I expressed my thanks, he laughed heartily and clapped me on the shoulder. Don't worry about it. Really, I can't just. But more importantly, his expression turned serious. Working hard is important, but there are other things in life that you should pay attention to as well. Now, I understand the meaning of his words all too well. From a distance, Sarah was busily attending to customers. Being busy with work is precisely when you need to face what's truly important. This whole incident has made me acutely aware of that. There's no doubt that work is important. But that's not all there is to life. I haven't yet fulfilled our promise to go on an overseas trip, but I've decided to stop pushing myself too hard for it. Not just for my sake, but for Sarah's as well. Watching Sarah work, I made a firm resolution in my heart. Won't you just leave? Don't you think it's presumptuous for a low-educated fool to come here and ask for an interview? You're too idiot to be here. Go home. After my mom passed away, I started working right after graduation from high school. I was fired from my job due to harassment from my boss and looked down upon in job interviews. My life was a series of misfortunes. Nothing ever went right for me. But I kept trying and didn't give up. Education doesn't matter. What's important is having a compassionate heart. Now, I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart. My name is Ken. I live with my beloved younger sister Emily, who is 6 years younger than me, and our mom. We grew up in a single-parent household due to complex family circumstances. Our parents divorced before I could remember my father. I don't recall my father's face, and to spare us any discomfort, my mom never showed us a single photo of him. Being a single-parent family, my mom worked part-time during the day and came back in the evening. We lived on welfare, but my sister and I always admired our mother's hard work. She was a graduate of a prestigious university. Additionally, she was the best home tutor I could ever boast about. Ever since I was in elementary school, I used to ask her various questions about my studies, but she never gave me the answers easily. Mom, this math problem is just too difficult for me. Ken, this is how it is, she'd say. She never actually gave the answer. This was always the case. She would give me hints to lead me to the answer myself. I got it. The answer is C. Math is so interesting. Exactly right. Now that you've got the answer, let's have dinner. Emily must be hungry too. My mom was good at math and science. Maybe that influenced me, and I gradually started liking those subjects too. Mom, I want to go to a science university, a national one, of course, because it's cheaper. Do you think I can make it? I want to get a job in a company and help you out. Our lives will become much richer. Of course, you can do it, Ken. I'll support you so you can go to your desired school. Go for it with all your might. I must have been her hope. In my last winter of high school, right before Christmas, when I was studying hard for my dream university, my mom was cleaning the bathroom, and Emily, watching her, said, "I want to help," as she stood by. Suddenly, Emily came into my room. "Ken, come quick, Mom, Mom." I ran to the bathroom. There, my mom had collapsed. We called an ambulance immediately, but it was too late. She never came back home. The cause was a sudden subarachnoid hemorrhage. Without showing any signs, she always warmly watched over us, her children. With the help of relatives, we managed to hold the funeral. I was in a state of apathy. Emily, still in her last year of elementary school, took time to accept the reality. Our aunt said, "If there's anything, please let me know," but though her words were kind, she lived far away and we hadn't met much, so I only thanked her. After the funeral, Christmas came and went, and the new year began. I started to think about the savings Mom had left for us, our current life, and our future, trying to find answers on my own. On the first day back to school after the winter holidays, I told my homeroom teacher in the teacher's room, "I've decided to give up on going to ABC University." "Ken, it's unfortunate about your mom, but are you sure? It's ABC University. You have the academic ability to get in. I think you might regret this." "It's okay. I'll work and take care of my sister. This is the best solution I've come up with. I have no regrets." "I see. Understood. I'll report this to the career guidance teacher. We're here to support you. Feel free to consult us about anything, no matter how small." "Thank you." After leaving the teacher's room, I ran to the back of the gymnasium. I couldn't stop crying over the decision I had made by myself. I came home with my eyes swollen from crying. "Well, what's that smell? It smells like curry." "I'm home." "Oh, welcome back, Kim. I tried making curry for the first time, just like Mom used to. It's chicken curry because chicken is cheap." "Really? That's great, Emily. But isn't it a bit burnt?" "Don't worry about it. Let's eat." The rice was watery and the curry was slightly burnt. It was Emily's first attempt at cooking, and she's only in 6th grade. "Emily, I've decided to start working from spring." "Wait, what about ABC University? Aren't you going there?" "This is the decision I've come to after much thought. It's okay." "Then, I'll go to ABC University." "Ha ha, you got me there. I'll make sure to support you, Emily." Eating the slightly burnt chicken curry, Emily's declaration to pursue further education cleared away all the gloom I had been feeling. From then on, Emily started making lunch for me as well. Despite being only in 6th grade, she accepted reality very maturely. I'm proud to have such a capable sister. The sudden shift from wanting to go to college to deciding to work. Finding a job was tough, but with the help of my homeroom teacher and the career guidance teacher, I somehow managed to secure a position at a local company. My name is Ken. As a new employee at a local company, I was among the youngest. Especially in the sales department where I was assigned, the age gap with everyone else was significantly large. My closest colleague was Chris, 25 years old, who was my supervisor. Chris was quite a character. "Chris, I'm looking forward to working with you." 18, hey, high school graduate. "Yes, I just graduated from high school." I see, a high school grad. Everyone else here has a college degree." He was pretty assertive from day one. Despite the fact that I had gone through the proper job hunting process and joined after graduating from high school. From then on, I woke up at 5 a.m. every day, took the breakfast and lunch Emily had prepared the day before, and left the house. I arrived at the office earlier than anyone else, started by checking the sales reports, cleaned the toilets, and served drinks to the clients who visited, working harder than anyone else. Although it was essentially menial work, I made sure to do it diligently. And almost every day, Chris, my supervisor, would harass me in ways that are all too common in companies. Ken, did you prepare the presentation materials for Company B? Yes, here they are. What's this? Did I really ask you to prepare something like this? I tried to follow your instructions. It's not about trying. No one's going to look at this. It's back to square one. Duh. Now I have to spend extra effort on this. This is what I don't like high school grads. I'll report this to the department head, Edward. Chris was close to Edward. Upon close observation, Chris's skill at sucking up to Edward was evident. However, as soon as Edward was away, Chris would start bad-mouthing him to me. You know, Edward is so useless. I wish he'd get transferred out soon. I was always amazed at Chris's two-faced nature. One lunch break, on a particularly sunny day. On the company building's rooftop bench, I ate the lunch that Emily had made for me as usual. Today's lunch is chicken curry. I should have improved since last time. Don't lose to C and do your best at work, the message inside read. The initial C unmistakably referred to Chris. I had talked to Emily about having such a boss, and she always listened carefully. The chicken curry has indeed improved. It's much tastier than before. After enjoying the meal, I cleaned the lunchbox and returned to my desk at work. Then Chris approached me, asking, smells like curry. What did you have for lunch, Ken? Yes, my sister made me chicken curry for lunch. It was delicious. What are you thinking, man? We have a meeting with a client soon. You plan to meet them smelling like curry. You're not considerate at all. Like brother, like sister. This is why I can't stand high school grads. Forget it. I won't take you with me. I'll go meet the client alone. Just remember, if we don't get this deal, it's your fault. Chris, filled with anger, left to meet the client alone. I felt terribly down, but as time passed, Chris returned around 4 p.m. This is the worst. There's no way we're getting that deal. Damn it. I'll make sure to report this to Edward. It was impossible to secure the deal with the intense curry smell you and your sister create. Chris, I admit my fault, but my sister has nothing to do with this. Please take that back. Oh, what's this? You have a sister complex. I'll include that in my report to Edward. For the first time, I couldn't hold back and voiced my opinion to my boss after enduring his constant bullying and even insults towards Emily. I was well aware that he reported both true and false information to Edward. I realized I disliked Chris about 6 months after starting my job. The days of enduring continued. The spendable income was low, and the bonus was merely nominal. 1 year and 5 months had passed since I started working. As usual, I woke up at 5 a.m., washed my face, and was getting ready for work when Emily woke up. Good morning. Don't push yourself too hard. You look tired. You're going to get scolded by C again, hey. Do you think so? Lately, I've mastered how to deal with C, like it's a final boss in a game. I've got my strategy down. If you say so. Was Emily's comment some kind of premonition? Of course, there was no strategy for handling Chris. Reluctantly, I headed to work, expecting to be scolded again. A 15-minute walk from our house spread a residential area, and there was a park where my mother, Emily, and I used to play. It was on my way to work. Sometimes, I'd sit on a park bench alone in the morning and think. Then, I saw an elderly woman suddenly fall forward on the bench. Ma'am, are you okay? I rushed to help her, making sure she could breathe easily by holding her in a comfortable position. Oh, my head hurts. Head, I gasped. It might be an acute subarachnoid hemorrhage, just like my mother. This was serious. I quickly took out my phone to call an ambulance and rushed to buy some water. "Ma'am, I've called an ambulance. Here, drink this." "Oh, thank you." She managed to sip a little water. She was conscious, but I couldn't let my guard down. Having lost my beloved mother, I had learned what to do in case someone suddenly collapsed. The key was to keep talking to them. Talk to them, make them comfortable, and gather the essentials. Though the elderly woman was a stranger, I didn't want her to end up like my mother. The ambulance arrived. The paramedics asked, "Ma'am, are you okay?" The woman had been out for a walk and didn't have any identification or a phone with her. Thoughts of work crossed my mind, but human life comes first. I left a message about the situation to the company and decided to go with the elderly woman. "May I join her in the ambulance?" "We'd appreciate that. Thank you." We arrived at the emergency hospital. The elderly woman was transported on a stretcher with a drip and an oxygen mask. While the doctor was attending to her, I felt that a message wasn't enough, so I called the company directly to inform them I'd be late. A few hours later, the doctor who had been treating the elderly woman came out. "She's suffering from dehydration. It's been quite hot these days. She'll need to be hospitalized for 3 or 4 days, but she's conscious and stable now. You can even talk to her. As a doctor, I'm grateful for your courageous act of calling an ambulance and accompanying her." "It's nothing. I'm just glad she's okay." "The lady wants to speak with you. Will you see her?" "I'll just say a quick hello and then leave." I visited the elderly woman in her room. "Thank you. Thanks to you, I feel like I've been given a bit more time to live. You're dressed for work, aren't you? What's your name?" "I'm Ken." "I'll remember that. Thank you so much." I quickly took a taxi from the station in front of the park and rushed to the company. I arrived just before noon, at 11:40 a.m. "Good morning. I apologize for being significantly late." As expected, Chris was furious. "Ken, you're late because you were helping some random old lady. Do you know what day it is?" "Yes, we have a presentation at Company C this afternoon. I prepared the presentation materials at home last night. They're right here." "Which is more important to you, random old lady with not much time left or the presentation at Company C?" "No, I thought saving a life was the priority." Playing the hero, "Hey, you're fired." "What? You chose that old lady over a business deal, right? We don't need a salesman like that. President Parker and Edward are waiting for you in the meeting room. Go and tell them your heroic story." I went to the meeting room as soon as I arrived. Just as Chris said, they informed me I was fired. No matter how much I explained the situation, it was futile. Chris and Edward, always looking to find fault, were in cahoots. There was no doubt that Chris had already reported the situation to President Parker. That day, I returned home, frustrated and in tears after receiving the unjust dismissal. "I'm home." "Welcome back. I made your favorite chicken. What's wrong? Did Chris fire you?" "What?" "It's written all over your face. You've always been easy to read." There's nothing quite as frightening as a woman's intuition. I explained to Emily what happened and why I was fired. She understood the situation completely and then said, "When one door closes, another opens. We learned that in class today. You did a good thing by saving a life. If that's the answer you came up with, I support my kind brother." When one door closes, another opens, huh? Emily's growth as a matured lady and her intuition never ceased to amaze me. I'm always being encouraged by her. The chicken curry I ate the next morning, the spices spread through my mouth, making it the best taste I've ever experienced. I resigned at the end of the month. I'm going to start job hunting, but I'll still have some free time. Teach me how to make your special chicken curry. I went to the supermarket to buy ingredients. I wanted to sit on the bench in the park I used to pass through on my way to work and think about what to do next. When I entered the park, someone was already sitting on the bench. Not today, then. No problem, I'll come back later. Just as I was about to head to the supermarket and leave the spot. Can. Yes. The person on the bench was the elderly woman I had helped the other day. She came over and started talking to me. We sat on the bench and talked about recent events at leisure. She, now fully recovered, seemed even more interested in me, asking various questions that made me wonder, why would she ask that? In the course of our conversation, I accidentally let slip that I had been fired from my job. I know the president of D Company. What? The famous local D Company. If you're not busy, why don't you try applying there? I'll let the president know that for you. Apply to D Company, that famous trading company. There's no way a high school graduate, could do that. What is she talking about? Trying to leave the situation gracefully, I said, well, it's great to see you're doing well. I'll give it a try. Sort of a commemorative application, and then I took my leave. 3 weeks later, the interview day at D Company arrived. I had studied up on D Company and prepared as best I could. Well, so this is D Company. Their building was a 200-meter tall skyscraper. The first floor housed a convenience store, restaurants, a lobby for business discussions, and more, making me feel utterly out of place. Well, it's just a commemorative application. I guess I would have the door slammed in my face. Haha. I approached the receptionist on the first floor and said, "Excuse me, I'm Ken, here for a job interview today." 2 minutes later, a male interviewer came down. "You must be Ken. I'm Brian, and I'll be conducting your interview today. Please, this way." We took the elevator to the interview venue. It was a meeting room on the 10th floor. On the way there, Brian had been friendly, and we had light conversation. "Please have a seat here. Relax, okay?" "Thank you." It seems he had already noticed how tense I was. "Then, I'll take a look at your resume." "Yes." Soon after opening the envelope and seeing my resume, Brian's expression turned somewhat grim. "So, Ken, you entered the workforce right after graduating high school?" "Yes, due to certain circumstances, I started working immediately." "Well, it's tough for high school graduates at our company. This must be some mistake. Did you see the convenience store on the first floor? Maybe you got mixed up with an interview there." "No, I'm certain I'm in the right place." "It's going to be difficult for us to hire you. Do you understand your place?" I do. There are many people who work hard even though they only have a high school diploma. Is it really necessary to have a college degree?" That's annoying." Brian put the resume back into the envelope and handed it back to me dismissively. "Wouldn't you rather leave? Don't you think it's presumptuous for someone with a low education to come here for an interview? You're too idiot to be here. Go home." At the moment I was yelled at, the door was opened. What? That was the first thing I blurted out. The elderly woman I had helped was there in a suit. Another man was standing there too. Hello, President Thompson. I heard you telling Ken to leave just now. I think the one who should be leaving is you." Me. "That's enough for today. You may leave. Make sure to calm down your thought." From the conversation, it was clear the man was the president of D Company. "President Thompson, Margaret, what's going on here?" I recommended Ken to President Thompson. "Was that inconvenient for you?" "No, not at all." Don't judge people by their academic background. What kind of person are you? Leave now." Brian turned pale and left the room. "I'm sorry for startling you like this. The president I mentioned is actually my husband." Thank you so much for helping my wife, Margaret, when she fell ill. President Thompson continued. I had to say that, or I thought you wouldn't apply for our company. When we talked on the park bench, I hoped you would join us. We wanted someone like you. The elderly woman I had helped was Margaret, the wife of D Company's president and also the head of HR. She had a keen eye for people. The meeting with them felt more like a casual chat than an interview. When one door closes, another opens. I was officially hired to work in the sales department at D Company. It felt like a dream. The company culture was entirely different. It was a comfortable working environment for me. I would occasionally run into Margaret at the entrance. Ken, how's work going? Getting the hang of it? Yes, Margaret, I'm enjoying it and being myself. Great. 5 years passed. My income got stable, allowing me to plan for the future. Emily was now in her 3rd year of high school. Her skill of making lunchbox improved with her age and experience. I appreciated it every day, looking forward to my meal. Today's sandwich has a star shape. What does that mean? Later, President Thompson called me in. Margaret was there too. Ken, there's an upcoming presentation event with various companies, big and small. Would you like to give it a try? Me. Your presentation skills have untapped potential. I recommended you to President Thompson again. I'm sure you'll achieve great results. Thank you, Margaret. I'll do my best. Haha, don't be so formal. The star mark in Emily's lunchbox makes sense now. A month later, fully prepared, I attended the event. Despite the large crowd, I remained composed. Isn't that? It was Chris, my former direct supervisor. He was also attending the event. We looked at each other. Chris glared at me as soon as he recognized me. I guess Chris is also doing his best, but I have my own path to follow. I can't lose. Undeterred, I presented in my own way. I secured a contract with one of the largest corporations attending. I had outperformed Chris, who had a college degree. Luck is part of skill. Joining D Company might have been luck, but I always acted thoughtfully and decisively beyond that. I never belittle people. Nor do I look down on them. President Thompson and Margaret had been observing my daily conduct. Those who watch do so attentively, noticing even the smallest details. Both President Thompson and Margaret were thrilled with the contract I secured with a major corporation. At a young age, I was promoted to sales manager at an unprecedented speed. Now, I'm in a position to lead others. When teaching others, I never give away the answers easily. I provide hints and encourage them to find the answers by themselves. This was a lesson from my late mother. The following year, my sister Emily was enrolled to the National ABC University, our mother's alma mater. She may be a bit of a seer with an exceptional intuition, but as her only brother, I want to watch over her slowly until she graduates from university.